Is Jurassic World Dominion the epic finale that the Jurassic franchise deserves? Yes and no. A nuanced opinion on the internet? Burn her! This is a spoiler-free review for Jurassic World Dominion. If you can't stop yourself from sharing spoilery details in a comment, please put them under read more and give a fair spoiler warning. Thank you! I went to see Jurassic World Dominion at the midnight premiere on June 3rd. I had booked my tickets way in advance because I was expecting them to sell out. There were only about 30 people in the theater. It seems a lot of people were literally sleeping on this movie's premiere, and it made me realize that as a Jurassic superfan with a Jurassic focused channel, I'm definitely in this bubble where there is a lot of hype for this movie. It's the conclusion of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World saga. It's the return of Dr. Alan Grant, Dr. Ellie Sattler, Dr. Ian Malcolm. There's Dilophosaurus, Giganotosaurus, Therizinosaurus, Blue-headed baby. Super exciting, right? Maybe outside of that bubble though, Jurassic World Dominion just doesn't get that hype after what was a very mediocre installment in the franchise. But I think it should get the hype. I had my sister with me who is not a fan of the Jurassic franchise, and she's also not a dinosaur fan. She doesn't even know what an Allosaurus is. So she was a good reference to have with me for me to be able to gauge how a non-dinosaur / non-Jurassic fan would experience the movie. And she had a good time with it and was even emotionally invested in it by the end. So here's my 2 cents, more like $1's worth. Jurassic World Dominion has a lot of dinosaur action. On first viewing, it felt like the most dinosaur-packed installment of the entire franchise. Pretty much never a dull moment. The plot takes us from one exciting dinosaur encounter to the next. We get to see a lot of different species of dinosaur in this installment, and they all get a moment to shine, however short it may be for some. They all get that moment of, hey, I'm a dinosaur, or not, and I'm awesome, or funny, or cute, or scary. And they were genuinely scary at times. There were some jump scares and some characters met a truly horrible fate. Jurassic World Dominion sneaks in a lot of animatronics, and similarly to that original trilogy, it really helps the impact of the interactions between the actors and the dinosaurs for the close-up moments. For the fast-paced action scenes and the wide shots to show the skill of the dinosaurs, of course they use CGI, but it's mostly top-notch throughout the entire film. There was one shot that had me thinking about this awful shot from Fallen Kingdom, and it was pretty close to the start of the movie, so that made me nervous, but thankfully that was completely unfounded. The CGI is really well done in this movie. The dinosaurs get plenty of love from the creators of Jurassic World Dominion, so as a dinosaur fan, that was an absolute joy to see. While the movie didn't have any major surprises or plot twists, it plays out rather predictably. There are some small surprises in it that definitely add to the experience. Some surprises with regards to the dinosaurs themselves as well. And speaking of a return to form with the animatronics, we also have a return to form with the return of the original trio. I didn't know if they would be able to pull this off elegantly, but they actually did. I'm impressed with how they did this. The original trio is integral to the story. They are not just shoved in there for fan service as an afterthought. They have actual purpose, and they actually serve as more of a driving force to the plot than the newer characters like Claire and Owen, who have a more reactive role when they go on their rescue mission. I absolutely adored the return of the original characters. Alan is a lovable dad type, even though he's not an actual dad. Ian is very Ian, which thumbs up, we appreciate that. And these two guys definitely bring most of the humor to the movie. There were several chuckle-worthy moments in this film. Ellie is still a go-getter without being like a fearless action hero, which I appreciate, but they did make more differences to her character than what they did with the others. So in the end, Ellie felt less recognizably Ellie as, for example, Alan and Ian, who are still very much Alan and Ian. Even though of the 3 legacy characters, Ellie arguably has the most important role of the 3 of them, I do feel like her long-lost co-stars did outshine her. Now for the newer and newest cast members. Owen is still a badass. He definitely does bring that action hero vibe to the film, to the role. Him wrangling Parasaurolophus as a cowboy was a little much for me. But I liked his character, and what I specifically enjoyed is his character's relationship with Claire, because I feel like their relationship gives more weight to some of the tense scenes, and you can really tell that he cares for her and is concerned for her, and that makes me as a viewer feel more of that tension in some of the threatening scenes. Claire is the best she has ever been. I loved her in this movie. Even though I really disliked her in the previous two movies, I really liked her. There was nothing grating about her this time around. Maisie's storyline, I wasn't too invested in. I didn't care too much about the character in the previous movie, and that sort of followed through in this one. I can't really get into it without tiptoeing into spoiler territory, so I'll leave that for my spoiler-filled review, which is coming next week. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider doing so and join in for my spoiler-filled review so we can discuss in detail about Jurassic World Dominion. The new characters, Kayla and Ramsey, were also done quite well. Kayla gets a bit of clunky, unnecessary character backstory exposition, and for her introduction she's a little too much of a tough chick caricature, but that softens over the course of the movie without compromising on her actually just being a quippy badass, so I think it was handled quite well. The integration of the old and the new cast also definitely did not disappoint. When the entire cast comes together, it really just clicks and it works as an ensemble cast. Upon introduction to each other, the individuals have some moments together that I think will make the fans smile. The villains are another element of the movie that I feel more comfortable discussing in my spoiler-filled version of the review. For this review, I'll just say that it was underwhelming. And they used this weird, inexplicable gimmick. I honestly don't know what the purpose of it was supposed to be, like what their thinking was here, but they had the villain constantly chewing, constantly eating, he's constantly snacking, and I don't know why they did that. It was very strange. Now, I've been almost exclusively positive up until this point, but I think it's time to bring some balance to this review. Because it's not a perfect movie, and even though I have no doubt that you will walk away from the theater feeling quite satisfied with it, and you might even feel like my criticisms, which will follow, are nitpicking because this is the internet and you either love something and you cannot acknowledge its flaws, or you hate it and you just constantly hate on it, right? Anyway. The acting and dialogue was rough at the beginning, like really uncomfortably rough. Cheesy, cringy, clanky. I think it's mostly to do with the writing, because obviously we know a lot of these actors to be absolutely amazing, and the first third or first half of the film definitely has some issues, I think because of how ambitious it is. I think the dialogue suffered from that ambition, and then in turn the acting suffered from the dialogue. It gets leagues better later on in the film though, when the plot like settles into itself and there's more focus to the story. And Bryce Dallas Howard gets a gold star from me. I liked her in this one. It's weird, I know. Dominion really takes some time finding its stride in the pacing as well. The pacing at the start of the movie was way off, it was way too fast, and I think that is again another symptom of that ambition. I have a feeling the original cut of the movie was way longer, and they had to shave off quite a bit to have the film overall fit like the blockbuster appropriate runtime, and I think it's the start of the movie where we really see the negative effects on that, where things just aren't given enough time. For example, there's this moment of like, oh, look at this amazing dinosaur, as the franchise is prone to do, but it's just like, oh wow. Anyway, they recycle something from previous movies that I am not a fan of, and I can't really get into it, but I'll just say that when it was revealed, there was an audible "oh no" in the audience, and that was me. There's a plot hole, there's a missing link in character development, there's something from Camp Cretaceous. This still does not work for me. They did not sell me on this. They're relatively minor issues, but I don't think they're insignificant. If you're a fan of the franchise and you're a fan of dinosaurs, just not like holding on to scientifically accurate dinosaurs per se, you're gonna want to be there for the midnight premiere just like I was, and you're gonna want to see it again just like I do. If you're more of a casual fan, maybe just see it on opening weekend at a more normal time. So, is Jurassic World Dominion the epic finale that the Jurassic franchise deserves? It doesn't wrap up everything perfectly, and it will not live up to the expectations of all fans. And with the return of the legacy cast, you can't help but think back to that original Jurassic Jurassic Park from 1993. The original Jurassic Park was about as close to movie-making perfection as you can reasonably ask for, in my opinion at least. It was the perfect storm, and nothing that came after in this franchise quite lives up to that, and Dominion befalls the same fate. But I feel the love for the dinosaurs and the franchise in this movie, and it delivers on the classic Jurassic action and Jurassic characters that you'll want from a Jurassic franchise movie, so it left me as a happy customer. As for the rating, I feel it's only fair to separate it into dinosaurs, characters, and story. Dinosaurs were great, characters were good, and story was okay. If you've seen this movie already, leave your own rating in a comment down below. And if you haven't seen it yet, share in a comment down below when you will be seeing it, because in my humble opinion, I think that you should and that you'll have a good time with it. Thank you so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and until next time, enjoy Dominion.